Okay, 6 minutes past. We're going to start. And I know everybody else will join us because we want to honor everybody who's on time, right? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Secure the Bag online masterclasses. Today, we're talking about COVID-19 mental health and personal transformation. My name is Christine Rita Abankwa. I'm the founder of Secure the Bag Pan-African Success Accelerators, which is a high-performance coaching platform. Today, I'm joined by two lovely ladies, Barbara Kamba-Nyathi, who is from Zimbabwe. She is a psychologist, an author, an entrepreneur. She's so many things. She'll have a chance to tell us more about what she does. And we're also joined by Ms. Mirjam Nalupe, who is a mental health nurse lecturer, mental health nursing lecturer at the International University of Management here in Windhoek, Namibia. So Mirjam, I'm handing over to you to start telling us about the mental health aspects of COVID-19. As you know, people are coping with the global lockdown period in their own ways. People are facing all sorts of issues, salary cuts, job loss, living with people who are abusive. So please take over, Mirjam.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you very much. Let me just see. I think I'm not sharing. Let me share this. Share. Okay. I hope everybody can see my presentation or my first slide. My name is Mirjam Nalupe. I'm a registered nurse midwife by profession and currently working as a lecturer or nurse educator of mental health nursing at the International University of Management here in Windhoek. I am here today to talk to you about the COVID-19 mental health impacts under the Secure the Bag Africa Masterclass. So,
Mirjam, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you check your computer volume? Is it at the highest?
Let me just check. Yes, it's the highest.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I just need to raise my voice.
Yes, please raise your voice louder. And could you please give us the slideshow view?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that I will be talking to you about the COVID-19 mental health impacts, and I was just about to talk about what I'm passionate about. I'm really passionate about mental health in general, mental health issues affecting young people, the general public, and specifically women. And I'm also very much passionate about maternal mental health issues. These are issues affecting mental health issues affecting women during pregnancy and also after giving birth. So I'm really excited to host this this session, and I hope that this is going to be an interactive session because what I'm going to talk to you about it might not be something new to you, but it's going to be things that you might have already been exposed to. So I just want us to interact, ask questions, and give our input where we can. So yeah. So first of all, maybe just a bit of background. I want to talk about COVID-19 in general. Since the first case was confirmed in Wuhan, China in December 2019, countries have started taking unprecedented efforts in order to curb the spread of COVID-19. So they've started closing down or slowing down activities in different countries, and also confining or telling people to stay at home because then that is the way to stop the spread of the virus. So the day-to-day activities then were affected, and by then I think somewhere in February, I have to confess that I was not really much into finding out what COVID-19 is all about. So there was this specific day that I was giving a lesson in class, and one of my students raised up her hand, and she wanted to know from me what will happen if COVID-19 come to Namibia. So I was like, it's a thought that never crossed my mind. So she wanted to know whether they will be getting classes from home. So I told her, okay, I didn't think about this. So, but if it comes, we will cross that bridge once we get there. So, but as from the question that the student asked, I really started thinking about what can happen if COVID-19 enter our country. And I think I also shared it with my colleagues at work that one of my students was asking this. So somewhere in March, the first case of COVID-19 was then confirmed in Namibia. And towards the end of the month, the president of the country, Dr. Hage Geingob, declared the state of emergency, and the lockdown was then it started on, I think, on the 27th of March until the 17th of April for Khomas and Erongo region, and then the extension was then more regulations were then taken to extend the lockdown to the rest of the country. So that has now caused a lot of things in Namibia. So we're confined in our homes, and also places of worship were closed, gyms were closed, everywhere where people could congregate and interact with each other were also closed. So there was really a lot happening that time. So now, although these steps were taken to spread or to curb the spread of coronavirus, it will have or might have negative consequences on our mental health, and that is why it's important that we discuss or we talk about this, because we also need to take care of our mental health. So, and that will form the main part of the discussion of what we'll be having today. So I'll just briefly go through the outline that I have prepared for this session. We'll first talk about the definition of mental health, and then the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on mental health, and then the effects of social distancing, isolation, and stress on mental health. We'll also talk about practical ways to help you cope during COVID-19 pandemic, and what helped me to cope. Lastly, I'll also I'll share my experience of what helped me to cope during the lockdown period. Okay. Maybe just for us to be at the same page with what mental health means. According to WHO, the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her own community. And that is the definition of mental health. And if you look at that definition and compare it with how we have been experiencing during the lockdown because of COVID-19 pandemic, you can really see that one or another way our mental health has been negatively affected. So the picture you see on the screen there are just some of the impacts of COVID-19 on mental health. The first picture there is just showing somebody who's depressed. So depression is one of the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second one is anxiety. And the third one is child abuse. The fourth one is that people, as they are on lockdown, and because we are social beings, we are used to interact with one another. Once we are confined in our houses, some of us can indulge into excessive alcohol use or drug use. Domestic violence or gender-based violence is another impact of COVID-19, and also worsening of chronic physical and mental illnesses. Those are some of them. So I will just go through one by one, and then we'll have a discussion later. We'll first talk about depression. What is depression? Depression is a common and serious mental illness or mental disorder that negatively affects the way you think, how you feel, and how you act. That is according to the American Psychiatric Association. Now, according to WHO, in 2019, more than 264 million people suffer from depression. So it's one of the mental disorders that affect most, that is common among the other mental disorders. It results from a complex of interactions between social, psychological, and biological factors. So, and as we can see that we are affected socially because of COVID-19 pandemic. We are confined to our houses. We are not going to work. We are not doing what we actually are supposed to be doing. Then it becomes difficult to cope, and some of us might develop stress and become depressed in the long run. So depression might be limited. That means it can resolve on its own between 3 and 6 months without any intervention or any treatment. However, relapses are common, and 15 to 20% develop into chronic depression. Now, the good news is that depression is treatable, and if a person is diagnosed with depression and they are put on treatment, there are different types of treatment, they can recover from depression. Now, one might want to know, when am I depressed and when am I just sad? There is a difference between being sad and being depressed. Number one, with sadness is an emotion. So it's an emotion or a reaction to something or to an event or to a situation that you have experienced. Yes, and depression is a mental illness. So that's a difference. The second difference is that sadness is brief. That means it does not last long. So once there's that emotion, you handle that emotion or you go through that emotion and then it goes and you are fine again or you're back to normal again. However, depression persists for much longer. And with sadness, it's a specific reaction to specific event. However, with depression, it's a general state. With depression, when somebody is depressed, it does not matter what is happening around them. It can be something positive, but the person still feel depressed. And with sadness, it's temporarily. That means it only comes that time when you are sad or when something has really made you sad. However, with depression, it changes your life. It changes the way you think, the way you act, and the way you behave. And with sadness, it's subjective. That means when you are sad, you express it or you show that you are sad. However, with depression, you need to have a diagnosis that you are depressed. So you need someone to look at you and talk to you and see whether your sadness or your emotions fit into the diagnosis of depression. So depression, and in other words, it's objective. So somebody else, which is a professional psychiatrist or a healthcare provider, should be able to see whether you suffer from depression or not. Then I just want to take you through some of the signs and symptoms of depression. Number one, it's one who have a depressed mood, and this is it is taking a time. So it does not, like we said earlier, with sadness, it does not go away. With depression, the mood is constantly there, which is a negative mood. Loss of interest or pleasure in activities that the person usually enjoys. Change in sleep, it can be that the person will overly sleep or they not sleep. They just go to bed and they suffer from insomnia. There can be a change in appetite, which can directly affect the weight. Either the person will lose weight because they are not eating well, or they will gain more weight because they are eating excessively. There is also low energy or fatigue. Most of the time, the person is just feeling that they are tired. Psychomotor agitation is another sign of depression, where the person will be restless. They will come in a room to look for something, and when they come in the room, they will not be able to remember what they came to get in the room. That can be a psychomotor agitation. Or slowing down, where the person has cannot do things the way or at the speed that they used to do what they used to do. And then the person also might suffer from low self-esteem, or they suffer from guilt, where they feel guilty of something, and that guilt is not going away. It's constantly there, and because that guilt is there, they tend to be it makes them more depressed. Because the person is in that depressive mood, they also have poor concentration, and most of the time with depression, there are thoughts of suicide. So a person with depression will usually talk about they want to die, or they wish they are dead because they are hopeless. And now according to the DSM-5, that is now the guideline that is used to diagnose mental disorders. If one has 5 of those signs that I've just mentioned above, then the person is considered to suffer from depression. Those are the signs and symptoms of depression. And then now, what are the factors contributing to depression during this pandemic of COVID-19 or this crisis? Number 1 is stress and loss. Loss can be of anything. Fortunately, so far, we do not have any cases of death in Namibia due to COVID-19. But in other countries, we have had or we have seen death cases increasing every day. Stress can be due to the changes that have happened. It was sudden that we were told to stay at home. We no longer go to work. We have plans that we were planning, things that we were planning to do, and we cannot do them anymore because we are confined to staying in our houses. And then isolation and social distancing. That can also be a factor that contributes to depression, because you might be having issues at home. Now, because you are confined at home, you cannot go to visit a friend, you cannot go to the mall and go to a restaurant and sit with your friend and just discuss the matter, or just to go out and unwind. So that can also bring depression. Environmental stressors, that can be issues at home. It can be maybe an abusive partner, or problems that can be at home that are not in our control, or they are in our control. There might be no income at home. That can also cause depression. And then interpersonal isolation, that can lead to loneliness, and loneliness breeds depression. And financial challenges, like Christine said earlier, that can really take put pressure on people. We have a lot of people that have lost income, because we have seen that most of the places were closed. People were not able to go to work, and small businesses were closed down, like open markets. People were not getting any income, and that can put a lot of pressure on people, and they can lose or they can lose an income. And when the income is lost, then there is a lot of stress at home, because there's not enough food, the bills are not paid, people go into debts, and these things further make the situation worse. Actually, I've heard people talking about how this pandemic has affected them at their workplace, whereby they have to get half of the salaries, because they are now working for shorter periods, because the number of hours per day that they are supposed to work has been shortened, and that has negatively affected their salaries, and that can cause depression. Postponement or cancellation of major life events, that can also lead to depression. We have graduations that were cancelled. We have weddings that have been postponed. We have actually had people that have lost their loved ones, but they couldn't attend the funerals and find closure because of the lockdown. And also the situation or the experience of working from home, that can also cause stress and lead to depression, especially if you do not have enough support at home and you are supposed to be working, taking care of the children, especially for us women, and also doing other house chores that we're expected to do at home. That can also put a lot of pressure on us, and then we can develop stress, which later then lead to depression if it's not attended to as early as possible. Okay, so I will just go then to the next one, or the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, which is gender-based violence and child abuse. Now, according to WHO, 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical and/or sexual violence in their lifetime. So that is a serious statistics. In Namibia, I could not find general statistics for the whole country. But what I've gathered is that last year in Windhoek only, about 200 cases of gender-based violence were reported at the gender-based violence protection unit. So that's quite a big number. So you can multiply that for 12 months, and you'll be able to get quite a high number of cases. Now, gender-based violence has got a lot of negative consequences on the victims. It leads to serious physical, mental, and sexual and reproductive health problems. Yeah. So somebody who's being abused by their intimate partners might suffer from depression. They might suffer from sexual and reproductive health problems, because they might even be exposed to sexual transmitted infections, because they might not be able to negotiate for condom use, because then they are scared that their partner might get violent. So in that, the person will then just get into sexual activities without using a condom, because they are living in fear of being assaulted or being emotionally abused by their partners. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially during the lockdown period, people that are already in abusive relationships tend to be they tend to have an increase in number of these abusers or the abuse. So those that are already being abused, the abuse can actually get more intense, and because it's quite difficult now for the person also to go out and talk to someone, because they are confined in the house, and the perpetrators or the abusers usually use or might use this exercise to exercise power and control, to control the movement of the woman. Unfortunately, I'll concentrate more on the women, because I know that the highest number of victims of gender-based violence are women, but I will also acknowledge that there are men out there that are being abused by their female partners. So women then also face increased burden to care and doing house chores at home, and that can also then increase the burden on them. Now, briefly to talk about the children, we know children have been out of school for a while now, so they might also suffer from issues of depression. They might also be depressed, miss their friends at school, worried when they are going to start. Okay, yesterday we just heard that they are going to start in August, but that can also have a negative impact mentally on children, because they are worried about their future. So now with gender-based violence again, is that when partners are abusing each other at home, this abuse usually extends to the children, and the children also suffer as a result of being in that home. Now, being in the house during the COVID-19, confined in the home environment, that can actually make child abuse worse. Okay, now I just put up a slide here on how to cope with an abusive partner. There might be somebody listening or somebody that knows somebody who is going through some sort of abuse. I think these are very important tips to follow. That first is that we need not to blame ourselves. One should not blame yourself when you are in an abusive relationship, because it's really not you that is at fault, but it is the other person that is abusive that has issues that they need to deal with. And it's very important to have a support network that can be friends, somebody you trust, or family members to talk to when things get really tough. And then you also need to establish boundaries, because it's only once you establish boundary with that person that the person will see the seriousness of what they are doing. So you might want to tell them that if you do this again, I am going to do ABC. And really, if it happen again, that is what you have to do. That is creating or establishing boundaries. And you need to realize that you cannot fix an abuser. So you cannot change an abuser. Somebody who is abusive need extensive counseling, need professional counseling. So do not think that you can fix an abuser. And very, very important, if the abuse is there and you are worried about your safety, you need to work on an exit plan where you might think about maybe going to the police, getting a protection order from this person so that the person stay a distance from you, so that you can sort out your relationship, whether it is going to continue or whatever option you are going to take. But it's good, it's worth it to have a plan of action, of exit in that relationship. Now, with anxiety, this is it occurs in a response to a stimulus, and usually anxiety comes as a group of mental disorders characterized by significant feelings of fear and anxiety. Now, anxiety is a worry about future events, while fear is a reaction to current events. Now, during the time of COVID-19 pandemic, there is a lot of anxiety, but this anxiety might also get worse. If somebody already suffers from an anxiety disorder, or it can also be a new problem that a person might develop because they are worried about the future events, what can happen tomorrow with this COVID-19, and also what is happening now. Now, the common anxiety disorders that are common with COVID-19 pandemic is generalized anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, generalized anxiety is when the person is worried about anything that might happen to them. They fear that something bad will happen to them. Remember, anxiety is worry about future events. So they are worried that they might get infected with COVID-19. They are worried that their family members might get infected with COVID-19. And this can negatively affect them, their thoughts, and they will be thinking about this constantly, and that can affect them, even the way they are thinking and the way they are also the way they are doing things. Now, the second one is obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I will discuss it in the next slide. This OCD is characterized by unwanted and intrusive thoughts, which urges involuntary impulses that are distasteful and difficult to dismiss, and they are called obsessions. So this person is constantly having negative thoughts, and they are not able to dismiss them. So, and then the second one, these thoughts are usually accompanied by feeling of discomfort and the urge to neutralize the thought. And these are what we call compulsions. And in this case, we can relate this condition with the excessive hand washing. So if a person is suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder, they will, for example, if they go out maybe to buy some groceries, when they come home, they will make sure that they wash their hands, but it's not the normal hand washing. It will be constantly washing of hands, and everything they touch need to be sanitized, and everywhere they need to sanitize it. And that is the compulsion. So the thought is that the person is scared or is worried that they might bring the infection or the virus at home. And the action or the behavior that need to neutralize that thought is that they will constantly wash their hands. They will constantly clean the area or sanitize their hands or wherever, because they are worried of what would happen. So usually it is normal to wash hands, but when it becomes too much that the person is constantly doing it, then just know that it might become obsessive and leads to obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so I have now discussed on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, and especially during the lockdown period. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the practical ways to cope during COVID-19. We all know that the lockdown has been lifted as from Tuesday. However, although we are going to work, we are still confined sort of in our homes, because we are not allowed to go to bars, to go and maybe have a drink, to go to the gym, or to go to church to congregate with other worshippers. So it is very important that we find ways to cope during this period. Number one, we need to make sure that we eat healthy. Healthy eating is very, very important. We also need to make sure that we hydrate ourselves by drinking a lot of water. It's also important for some people to de-stress through journaling. It's very important to journal, where you, for example, at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, you have your journal and you write down things that your thoughts that you have at that moment, and what you are planning to do, and whatever you want to write down. It helps to want to de-stress. Exercise is very, very important, because as you exercise, your body releases endorphins, and these endorphins they connect to the receptors in your brain, and they create an euphoric feeling where you feel happy. So it helps you to be happy and to be euphoric and to release the stress. And then meditation is also very important. If you love meditation, you can also meditate or breathing in and out. One of the things that helped me, or that I used to do when I want to relax myself, is to breathe in, and as I'm breathing in, I'm counting 1 to 4 and holding my breath for 4 counts again, counting to 4 while holding the breath, and while releasing, again counting to 4. That helped me to relax, and it also distracts you it moves you to not to think. So you concentrate on your breathing, then your thoughts. So breathing exercises also help, and it's also very important to rest. I know some might say that, oh, during the lockdown I've been resting a lot. So, but there are some people that might struggle to rest because of the worries, the anxiety, or the other problems that, like we have mentioned, the loss of income and all this. So it's very, very important that you maintain your rest so that your body can recover. Another way is to maintain social contact with loved ones at home, and also with those the loved ones that are far from you, through cell phones or through other technology methods. And it's very important also. Another way is to reduce social media coverage that you perceive as upsetting. So you can develop a routine where you only look at social media maybe in the morning and in the evening, twice a day or once a day, or whichever amount of time that you want to do it. But it's very, very important that we reduce social media, because the more we watch negative news, the more it leads us to get depressed and to be more anxious. So it's very important that we reduce social media coverage on COVID-19. And then it's also important to draw on skills used in the past that help us to manage previous life adversities, and find a credible source of information. Whenever we are looking for information on COVID-19, it's very important that we look for information from credible sources. That can be the World Health Organization, CDC, Ministry of Health and Social Services, or healthcare providers. So it's important that we make sure that we get the right information. Avoid using tobacco, alcohol, and illicit drugs. We know that alcohol, the buying and selling of alcohol, is still prohibited. That is what our president said. And we need to make sure that we really avoid that, because the moment we take alcohol and we are already having some other social factors that might lead us to get depressed and to become stressed, alcohol actually make it worse, and drugs make it worse also. So we need to make sure that we stay away from alcohol, drugs, and tobacco, and focus on the things that we can control. So we need to focus on what we can do, because really you find ourselves that we cannot really do much on what we can control. What we can control is what we need to focus on. That is the precautions that we were told to do: the washing of hands, the sanitizing of our hands, and wearing of masks. So those are things that we can control and we can do as individuals, and that is what we need to focus on. And we also need to learn more about COVID-19, because the moment we know more about the condition or the disease, that will also relieve anxiety when we have knowledge about this condition, and it will also help us to protect ourselves from contracting and transmitting the virus. And yeah, so I just wanted also to share my experience with you on how I experienced the lockdown. For those that do not know me, I'm a mother of 3, a wife. So during the lockdown, it was quite challenging for me to cope while working at home. So I have got 3 children, 14-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, and a 23-month-old toddler. So it was very difficult for me to cope. As I said earlier, our teaching mode was more face-to-face. So we had to start with online learning and teaching, and we are contacting our classes through online. So sometimes when you have a class and you have other activities to do at home, it's very difficult to focus. And I found it quite difficult, especially with my 4-year-old son. You find that you'll be having a class, a virtual class, and he will try to find a way to come in the room. You will make sure that all the rooms are closed, and he will find a way. Like the other day, I closed all the rooms thinking I was okay, and I was alone in the room, and I was ready for my class. While in the middle of the class, he passed through the window, and there he was. So, and as I was talking, he's repeating what I'm saying. So it was very distracting. So it can be challenging to work from home. And however, I did manage to do what I could do. And then that's some of the strategies that I've used to cope with the stress while on lockdown. I've actually started a garden at home. Don't mind the size. Yeah, so I started a garden, and that helped me to de-stress or to just relax after my day, or during the morning or evenings. I usually go into my garden and just see how it is, water the garden. It really helped me to relax. And also reading also helped me a lot during this period, as well as exercising. I usually go some days in the morning or evenings to just run or walk in the surroundings, so that I calm down, and I also feel more relaxed after that. Yeah, and this is just in case you need help, or you know someone else who does. It's important in this period, if you suffer from any of those impacts that I've just talked about, to talk to someone. I personally have a lot of benefits with having someone that I can talk to when I'm faced with any challenge in life. It should be somebody you trust. And then seek professional help. That is very, very important. If you see that things are getting out of hand, it's very important that you seek professional help, either from a social worker, a psychologist, or a healthcare provider. It can be a nurse or a doctor, and then they can refer you appropriately. And for people with pre-existing mental health conditions or disorders, they should continue treatment and check for new and worsening of symptoms. Like I said earlier, this period of lockdown and COVID-19 pandemic can actually make these symptoms or these conditions worse. So one need to take care of your mental health. Okay, and those are just some numbers that I looked up for different government and non-governmental organizations that really do a lot with mental health and also with gender-based violence or any sort of violence that one might be experiencing. We have the Mental Health Care Center that is at the Windhoek Central Hospital, the Lifeline Child Line, that is those are the numbers there, and the Gender-Based Violence Protection Unit, that is for those that are in Windhoek. And Regain Trust, it's another non-governmental organization that is doing a lot with gender-based violence victims. And they also have a lot of sessions, even on Facebook, on parenting teenagers and all that. And then the Namibian police, countrywide, I think they are ready to really help if you have any problem at home that has to do with abuse, and the city police number is also there. Okay, finally, I want to end with this quote by Dr. B. Chisholm. That was the Director General, the first Director General of the World Health Organization, and he was a psychiatrist. And he said, without mental health, there can be no true physical health. So there is no health without mental health. Therefore, we need to take care of our mental health, especially during the period of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Mirjam. We can still see your screen.
Yes.
Mirjam?
Yes, Christine?
Please stop sharing. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And you can just switch your video back on. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Mirjam. That was really a lot of information. I have a question here from Karian, who asks, what are the signs of mental breakdown? So how do we know that we're breaking down mentally? Do you have any tips on that?
Okay. I think a mental breakdown is it's a general term that is given generally out there, but usually somebody with a mental breakdown, I would think that that person is depressed. And the signs of depression, as I've mentioned, is loss of interest in activities that one used to enjoy, depressive mood or depressed mood. The person is generally depressed, irrespective of what is happening around them. Things might be going well in their lives, but they are still feeling that there is no hope for them. That life is hopeless and they don't see any future. They might be having, like I said, suicidal thoughts, and they are tired most of the time. They don't feel having energy to do anything. Those are just some of these signs of a mental breakdown. And also the sleeping patterns also change, and the eating patterns, where the person will be most of the time just sleep because of the fatigue that they feel. They will just want to be in bed and not going out. They don't want to communicate with anyone. They want to be on their own. They are irritable. They cry most of the time. Yeah, so those are some of the signs of a mental breakdown.
And Mirjam, I just want to ask, in the African context, how do we deal with these mental health issues that you've brought up? because a lot of times it's difficult to talk about them, or people just think that you're not able to control yourself, you're being too emotional, you're not allowed to break down. What have you observed, especially when dealing with people in this regard?
Mental illness in the African context is not really it's not really spoken about as physical illness. So it's easy for one to say, I have pain in my back or on my leg or wherever, but it is quite difficult for one to say, I haven't been sleeping for days, because I believe it's the stigma attached to mental illness, and that's why people are not speaking out about it, and they rather wait until things get worse. And most of the time it even get to the extent of a person committing suicide, because they're not free to express how they feel, because of the perception out there of mental illness. And these people are usually not helped on time. That is the experience I've experienced with mental illness. People don't really take it seriously as physical illness, but it is quite serious. As I said earlier, there is no health without mental health, because your brain is the center of all your emotions, of all your activities, of all your whatever is happening in your body is coming from the brain. It's your engine, basically. So if it's not functioning well, that means your general health is affected, and that is why mental health is so important.
Now, if you could also address the issue of what's happening now during lockdown. We don't have our usual coping mechanisms. We can't go out. People can't go to the bar, the cinema. And then, like you said, we are stuck at home, maybe with people who even trigger our issues, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you center yourself? How do you deal with yourself during such a time?
Okay. I think what is important is to know ourselves, and to know the people that we live with, and also to I think what will help is really for a person to understand the people that they live with. And it's quite difficult because you can try to act like emotionally intelligent, but the other person might still be triggering emotions and making you feel sad or angry or what. But it's really it's a matter of self-awareness, knowing your emotions and being able to control them. I think that is important. And also I think what helps is also, maybe if one feels that they're overwhelmed with what is happening at home because they are not able to do what they used to do before, maybe going to church. Most of us are Christians, and it's very important that we attach, or we go to our worship places and worship, and that also help us spiritually and even psychologically. I think it will also good for one maybe to read the Bible. That can also help, and also just to go out maybe and get some fresh air, and maybe when you come back you will be cool, or feel better again. Yeah. What also help is, for what I forgot to mention is also with me, I usually also, if I see that there's a lot of things happening at home, there are kids everywhere and I need some space, what I do, I also get into my car and just put on my music and be there maybe for 30 minutes or an hour, and then I feel better. I think that can also help.
Thank you, Mirjam. And I just wanted to add that there are now so many internet resources that we can use to help us cope, just in terms of accessing online communities. And very quickly, before we move on to the questions and then Barbara, I just wanted to ask Mirjam, when it comes to men, because we do have some men in here, and there's a tendency for such talks to mostly feature women, even as attendees. what have you experienced, or what issues do men face, especially African men face, when dealing with their mental health issues? Because women usually, we don't have a problem admitting that we have a problem, right?
Yeah. I think with what I've observed with our men is that they do not share what when they are suffering, or when they're experiencing some mental issues, or issues that are affecting them mentally rather. So what they do is they keep these issues within themselves. They do not discuss them with their friends. They do not discuss it with their families or with their partners, but they keep them in those emotions bottle up, and they then end up either becoming depressed or becoming violent towards people that are around them. And the other way that I've also seen men or some men do is that they resolve into using excessive alcohol or drinking alcohol to numb their feelings, or with an expectation that once they drink, the problems will go away. But as soon as the alcohol is out, the person start thinking about those negative thoughts again, and then it's back to square one again. So I think most of the issues that we deal in our society today, especially those affecting our men, it comes from the culture of men should be strong, should not cry, should not discuss their issues with anyone, otherwise they are regarded as cowards. But I think we need to move away from that culture, because it's negative. It's affecting our men, because really, if we have to look at for example, even if we go to cases of people that are admitted with mental illness, it can also be women, but especially those that suffer from substance abuse. These are our men, and they usually go there because they have mental health issues, or mental issues that they are dealing with, and they are not able to communicate them with anyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mirjam. In the interest of time, we're going to move to Barbara's presentation, and then I'm going to open up the Q&A session for both of you, because you are both in the mental health field. So anybody who's asked your questions, I've seen them and we'll definitely get to them. So I'm going to allow Barbara to take over from here.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Barbara here. Okay.
Barbara, sorry. Is your volume? Is your volume at its maximum?
It's very high.
Okay,
yes.
So you may have to project so that we can hear you. Thank you so much.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So, like I was saying, I'm going to start with my presentation. The introduction is also in the, okay. So my name is Barbara Kamba-Nyathi, as Christine already said. I'm an author, an entrepreneur, I'm an inspirational speaker, a lifestyle and wellness coach, I'm a mediator, and a poet. The rest you can read there on the slide. I think most importantly, given what we are talking about today, I am also a psychologist, just FYI. It's one of the other things that I am. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about personal transformation. For me, personal transformation, it's a metamorphosis from an undesired state to a desired state. We go through different changes in life, through seasons, through experiences, challenges, So all these things come together to build us, to make us something new, to mold us into a newness. Therefore, personal transformation is not a once-off thing that I wake up today and I decide I'm going to be transformed, and then I'm a new person just like that. It's a journey, it's a process. Some days you put in more work than others, and some days it's easier, and some days you have to go through painful experiences for you to reach the transformation that you desire. I'm going to illustrate with this image here. As you can see, while this woman is changing from that state where she's lying down on the floor,
Barbara,
to the state where, yes?
please share your screen.
Am I not sharing it?
Not yet. It's okay.
This is so hilarious.
It's okay.
Okay, this is very funny. Let me, where is it? Now, you know this technology. It's always messing up with me, I tell you. Okay.
The good thing is you're so engaging, we didn't notice.
Okay. What am I? Oh, now I'm asking you, what am I sharing? Very funny. Now you can see?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool.
Just put the slide view. Yes, perfect.
Okay. So that was the first slide where I was introducing myself and saying a lot of things, which I'm sure you heard because you said everyone called here. You didn't notice I wasn't sharing my screen. Okay, now I was describing personal transformation, that it's a process and it's not an easy process that you just wake up and decide I'm changing, I'm becoming this. As illustrated by the image here on the screen, as you can see, the woman is changing from the prostrate position on the ground to rising to something, growing into something else. It's not exactly like a smooth ride, a smooth transition. There is still things pulling her down. It could be people, it could be pressure from the environment, it could be personal, because sometimes we tend to doubt ourselves, you know, like, is this really what I'm going to do? Am I really ready to become this? What will people say? Or what will everyone think of me? What will I think of myself? So it's important to be ready. You need to be mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, and sometimes physically prepared to change from one state into another. But as we can see from the picture here, the image of the woman lying down, it looks so pale, lifeless, which means I think she had given all she could to this persona that is now left on the ground, and she's ready to morph into this newness with a new purpose. That's why she's looking upwards, for maybe to show that she's ready to grow, to do greater things. So the personal transformation is basically summarized in this image. We are letting go of things that hold us down, things that hold us back, toxic thoughts, toxic behaviors, toxic people in our environment, because sometimes it's the environment we are in that causes us to feel like we now need to transform into something else. I'm going to move on. So now we are going to look at the whole process of transformation. How do we come to the decision that I'm going to transform myself, I'm going to become better, I'm going to be the best version of myself, I'm going to become whatever I want to become? So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, who defines your worth? Unless you can answer that question honestly and truthfully, because you're talking to yourself. Remember, this is a personal transformation. You are not doing a group transformation, or it's not about someone else. This is about you working on yourself. And especially now with our lockdowns, I mean, when the first, I'm calling them seasons, by the way, when season 1 of the lockdown was about to end, I was so excited because I thought I'll be able to go out and, I don't know, and just be outside, you know. And then on the day, it's just a few hours before season 1 was over, our president came on TV and he started talking about extending. So we were now getting into season 2. I wasn't ready for season 2. At that moment, my worth as a person, as someone who wanted to go out, as someone who needed to exercise a liberty to be free to move around, was external, because whoever was the president who declared that we are entering into season 2 of the lockdown was controlling, he was defining my worth, but I'll get back to that also. And then on Friday, our season 2 officially ends today at midnight, yes. But because things are what they are, we are officially entering into season 3. So it's just a transition of seasons coming in, and, you know, before you are done with the current one, the next season is introduced, and you have to, I have to look at myself differently now and say, what am I going to do about this? So coming back to who defines your worth, is your locus of control external or internal? When it's external, it's like the examples I was giving you, that my freedom to be able to move around, to do what I want, to see who I want to see, is being controlled by someone other than me, by a power outside of me. That's the external locus of control. But when you are talking about personal transformation, you also need to ask yourself, who defines my worth? Is it what people say when they look at you? Do they look at you and say, no, you can't be this. No, you are too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too... You know how people always define us. And in the end, our self-worth is so messed up because we are just listening to all these voices coming from outside, and we don't take time to listen to ourselves. When you decide to transform yourself, it means your locus of control at that moment is internal. You've come to a realization that you need to close your ears off to the naysayers, to the critics, to the judges, to everyone. You now need to maybe to redefine who you allow in your inner circle. People who are going to support you, people who celebrate your milestones, people who will actually, who believe that you are worthy of the self-transformation and you can actually transform yourself and become better. I've seen people have been circulating on social media so many things about how so and so persevered and they became better. If you come out of the lockdown without having achieved ABC, then you have wasted time. That's not it. Sometimes just surviving those days in lockdown, those days in social isolation, those days in quarantine, just surviving them, it's a huge thing, it's a big feat. So we need to stop comparing people. We need to allow, if it's going to be an external locus of control, it has to be one that's positive, one that's going to help us grow, that's going to help us become better people. And then internally, we need to be kind to ourselves. We can't be harsh with ourselves. We need to, because when you decide to transform, it means you are changing from one position to another. So the desired position must be that of positivity, must be that of happiness, must be that of love. You know, we should exude these things. Also, on examples of some of the external forces that control us, it could be religion. I may be in an abusive relationship and religion tells me I shouldn't leave my husband, I shouldn't do this. And then men may do that unfortunately, it's just saying men. Sometimes also women can do that. It was created for the gender-based violence women's thing. So that's why it's just men. But sometimes even us women, we can be very bad influence to other women. We can be bad influence to men. We can be bad influence to our own selves. So let's just say people there. And society itself, people always have an opinion on our lives. Do this, don't do that. Go here, don't go there. In the end, there's so many voices that are just attacking you. You don't know which one to listen to. So it's important to take time to listen to your inner voice so that when you decide to move forward, you can actually move forward without giving credit to all these negative vibes, because they will hinder you from progressing and realizing your true self-transformation. Who do you see when you look at yourself? This is very important. Some people are afraid of really looking at themselves in a mirror, It's easy when I'm getting dressed or applying makeup or whatever to look, because I'm just focusing on that. But now when you look at yourself, we are not talking about just the physical. That immediate layer that hides behind maybe the makeup, the clothes, whatever it is, our qualifications, our jobs and everything. Who do we see when we are being honest and candid with ourselves? When we look at ourselves internally, when we introspect, who am I when I look at myself? Am I a broken woman? Am I a hurting person? Am I angry? Am I feeling defeated? Am I bitter? What is it? Who do I see when I look at myself? And then we also need to reflect, like we look at how we relate to the environment around us, to the people around us, to people we interact with. Like these days we're in lockdown, so it's most probably our immediate family. How am I relating to them? What kind of image, what kind of persona am I showing them? Am I showing a loving person? Am I being kind? Am I being pro-growth, pro-healing, pro-self-discovery, pro-everything, pro-transformation? What am I? So you need to be honest with you, because for you to say, I'm going to do self-transformation, it's such a broad thing to do. So you need to break it down into smaller pieces, manageable pieces, and say, I'm going to work on this aspect of my character or on this aspect of my persona. This is what I'm going to focus on. So if you break it down into bite-size priorities, then you address them and start working on them one by one. In the end, you realize by the end of I don't know how many seasons we're going to have in lockdown, or even by the end of the year, you'll have done so much self-transformation that you'll be a far cry from the person you are today, you are right now, to who you will be then. When we look at ourselves honestly and without judgment, without just being truthful to ourselves, we are taking off the mask. Like in this image, we always want to be seen smiling. Even through our pain, we smile. Through our tears, we smile. We want everything to be on point, hair nicely done, or hair nicely off, whichever works for you. The smile, everything, the nail, everything is just perfect if you look at this image of the mask that's being taken off. But what is hiding there? It's a hurting woman, someone who's broken, who is very sad, she's in pain. So it's important to really look at ourselves and even ask people around us, because when you're ready to self-transform, you also want to have people who support you. You can't just change while the people while your closest people are not aware of it. You might change well and surprise them, but it's better when you're on this journey with someone else, with someone who is going to support you, who's going to help you when you need help, who's going to encourage you when you feel like giving up, someone who's going to just stand by you. Sometimes we just need someone to stand by us. You just know, so and so has got my back, no matter what. So we need all that. And when we embark on this process of unmasking, taking off this mask, we are showing the real self, the raw self, the self that is ready to work. Because you cannot work on yourself if you're still hiding behind something. It can be maybe a disorder or an addiction that you're hiding behind. It could be eating, it could be a game, it could be gambling or whatever. When you take off the mask, you are saying, this is me as I am. And I'm going to improve on myself, I'm going to be better. And you start working from there. So when you have taken off this mask, it means you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable. This is not easy, being vulnerable, you know. One, it means finally you accept yourself as you are. Whatever's, everything, you accept yourself as you are. This is who I am, this is me. And I'm going to work from here and moving forward. You are taking off all the covers, all the things that you have used to shield people from seeing the real you. You are taking it off. And then next thing, you have to embrace your brokenness. It's not an easy thing, you know, because we want to be seen as tough, as boss babes, as all this. We kick ass in work, in whatever we do, all our fields, we are top notch, we are always presentable, always on point, you know. We are just not like, we are almost like robots. There's nothing that's out of place, not even a hair, nothing. So you need to embrace your brokenness, because for you to want to transform, it means something has been broken. I'm also a Gestalt therapist. I'm going to allude a bit to Gestalt. Gestalt asserts that we are like a puzzle. We have pieces like a puzzle, and sometimes some of the puzzles are in the wrong place. Some of the pieces are missing. Some of the pieces get broken along the way. So in Gestalt therapy, we try to build a new thing using those same broken pieces, find the beauty in them, because there's always beauty in brokenness. It's not always an ugly thing. Being broken means you are ready to be built into something else. If you are just the same person, not broken, then it's usually hard to build something new from the, you know, from the untouched, perfect image. And also, when you are broken, it's easy to build up whatever image you want to build now, because you've decided you want to transform yourself. So what are you transforming into? It's easier to create a new thing, a new mosaic with the broken pieces than with the unbroken wall vase that you are, or that we want to pretend to the world that we are. And also be ready to pour out your soul. You know, when you are vulnerable, you are prepared to share your deepest, innermost insecurities, your pains, or whatever struggles or challenges that you deal with every day. It may not be daily or in your life that you have been dealing with, that you have dealt with, but you are saying, I'm ready to just expose all that. It's like airing your dirty laundry out there so the world can see it. But it's not just so people will start feeling sorry for you, or you will now have a legit reason to throw yourself pity parties. This is to help you find healing. after you've poured out your soul, I've admitted I'm a broken girl. This is what I have. The broken pieces are here. It's easier to look at them from a different perspective, stand back a bit and look at the broken pieces and say, this is what I want to build now. This is who I want to be. This is who I want to grow or to emerge out of this brokenness as a new thing. I used this image. It's just makeup, nobody battered me. Just a disclaimer, we were doing a photo shoot for the gender-based violence. The reason why I'm sharing this picture is, this is me being vulnerable here. I am willing to let the world see the rawness that is inside of me. Because it's not easy it's not possible for me to open my chest wide open and show you the pain that's inside, the rawness, the anger, maybe the unforgiveness, the bitterness and everything, the pain, the regrets and everything. But this is close enough to show that there is pain, there is brokenness. There is something that's no longer whole about this image, because it's just showing that's now raw. I'm being vulnerable. I'm at the mercy of whoever is looking at this image right now. So for me, that's why I first said, I just made the disclaimer that that's not physical abuse. And I want to talk about my vulnerability as a cancer patient versus being the psychotherapist at the Cancer Association of Namibia. You know, when you're used to sitting on the other side, listening to people share their stories, their journeys, their fears, and their struggles and challenges, and helping them cope, find coping mechanisms, find ways of dealing with the diagnosis, find ways of dealing with the family and the treatment and everything. Then suddenly you are now one of them. You are supposed to be on the other side. It was a huge struggle for me internally, because I was in denial, one, and two, I didn't accept that there's no one of them or one of us. We are all the same, you know? And being all the same means the tables can turn. One moment you're sitting on the other side, the next you're sitting on the other. So it took a lot of introspection. It took a lot of reflection. It even took some tough love from friends to say, you need to snap out of this. You need to accept the reality. You need to stop being harsh with yourself, with your body, because I think it was after the diagnosis, I had 2 types of cancer, cervical and endometrial, which is ridiculous for someone to start running ultra marathons, you know, because I needed to prove a point. I think it was more to myself than anyone, that I can do this. I am totally capable of doing this. I'm strong enough and everything. And I remember in one of the races at the 2 Oceans, I almost died. I couldn't run 10 kilometers. I started bleeding internally. So needless to say, I couldn't go 10 kilometers. I had to be put in an ambulance and everything. I was taken to hospital the following day, was in theater and whatnot, you know. It's about accepting yourself that I'm human, yes. In as much as I'm a therapist, I'm still, that doesn't make me immune to pain or to any form of disease, you know, or any of these things that happen in life. It just means that I am more equipped to help others, but I also need the help. So being vulnerable was me saying, I need someone to talk to. I need help about this. And from that moment, I started on my self-transformation journey, which is still a process, like I said when I started my presentation, that it's a process, it's never a once-off thing. Because sometimes I still have that need right now to push myself and say, I can do this, I can achieve this. And sometimes I don't even understand. I remember the other day I was talking, my sister was telling me not to do, I wanted to go and do laundry, yes. And she was saying, you're not doing laundry, we are locking you inside and whatnot and whatnot. And I was thinking, why is she being a bully? But then later on, as I was reflecting, I realized, but you're not feeling well. Last night, you actually took like pain meds because you were in so much pain. Why can't you just let your body rest? So it's an everyday thing. The cancer may be gone, but it has, the scars, they remain. Some of them are emotional scars, they remain. So you allow yourself to be vulnerable every time and say, it's not a competition. You have people who can help you right now at home to do your chores. It's not like you are under any pressure or you are under any obligation. Just relax and listen to your body, which helps. And I must say, it's not an easy thing for me because I am very stubborn. So I'm learning to re-listen. I'm relearning to listen to my body, because also being on lockdown, it means I can't, like I said earlier, go out. I'm a speaker. You know how difficult it is that you no longer have to, you don't have the liberty to go and speak outside. You don't have the liberty to go and speak in front of people. Now, this is more or less the speaking that I do, but I'm learning to be kind to myself, that I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to do anything crazy. I just need to be kind to myself. And also, do not play the blame nor the comparison game. We are all on a different path. We are all on our own personal journeys. There's nothing as discouraging as being compared to someone or looking for someone to blame, that, if it wasn't for so and so, if it wasn't for this, we need to be able to take responsibility for whatever is happening in our lives. Own everything, the good, the not so good. And we need to remember that this is a personal journey. I can't say, oh no, maybe Miriam or Christine, their journey was like, their transformation was like 1 week and it was done. Or it was a year or whatnot. We are all, it's a personal journey. And like I said, when you break it down into small bite-sized priorities, you realize the transformation is always ongoing, and at times you have to add on new things that you need to change in your personal journey. And remember, the process is unique and peculiar to you. No one else can experience and walk this journey for you. It's uniquely yours, so own it. It's a good thing to be transforming. It's a good thing to embark on this journey. So we don't apologize for it. And when you have done all that, it's now time to build your collage or your mosaic, adding value to yourself. Look at yourself and say, what do I want? Or how do I add value to myself? I need to rest more. I need to maybe to smile more. I need to be happy. These are choices we make. I need to be, I don't know, a better mom, a better wife, a better sister. I want to be the best whatever. Maybe learn even a new skill that will help you relax. Someone was telling me that baking during the lockdown has been very helpful for them. When they feel like they are getting all this pent-up energy, they need the dough, like really let out all the steam in them and transfer it into the dough. By the time it's cooked, I think even the anger is cooked there, so the food is no longer angry food, I'm presuming. So add value to yourself. Do things that help you grow. Do things that make you feel like the person you want to be. And also, as you build your collage or mosaic, you are already embarking on your journey of becoming. You are becoming the best version the better version of whoever you want. You are becoming the desired self that you wanted to be initially when you started on this journey of self-transformation. So I listed at least 4 steps that we can take, action steps, for us to embark on this self-transformation journey. Be intentional. Don't just say it because maybe we are holding a masterclass and you have nothing to do, given that we're on lockdown and, you know, we just need variety. Be intentional. Make sure this is what you really want. And when you are being intentional about it, be very specific. Don't just generalize that, yeah, I'm going to transform myself. What part of yourself are you transforming? What part of yourself do you feel needs to be worked on, to be panel beaten, to be modified, to be molded, to be, I don't know, to be worked on? Be intentional about what you want. And then take care of yourself. We can take care of ourselves by meditating, we can pray, we can exercise, we can rest, drink more water. Excuse me. Start something new. Talk to someone you've never spoken to. Take care of yourself. Just get out of that mindset of being overwhelmed, of being overloaded with so many things that need to be done and this and that, you know. Just let go of everything. Just allow yourself to breathe. Breathing as in right now, and breathing, take in all the positives. Affirm yourself every morning. Do things that make you happy. And exhale, detox all the negative people. I have a newsletter that I've been writing during the lockdown. And there is one issue where I talk about detoxing your phone. You know, our phones carry so many toxins. People we don't like, people who are negative, people. Detox, just delete everyone who you feel is stealing your joy, is stealing your happiness. Just remove them. You don't need them. Detox. So you can detox emotionally, detox technologically, detox physically, detox spiritually. Take care of yourself. And there is therapy. It's always good. Have someone, a professional, a trained someone to help you go through these steps. They will help you go through the transformation, how to sustain it, how to maintain it, how to actually put it to action in your life and have the support you need. And number 4, we need an accountability partner. You need someone you can talk to who will stand by you. I think I spoke about having someone who is also passionate about your journey as you are passionate about this new journey you are embarking on of self-transformation. Have someone who will affirm you, someone who is your cheerleader, someone who's not afraid to call you on BS if you're being funny and tell you, no, this is not how we do it. This is what you're supposed to do. You know, someone who actually communicates and is not afraid, oh, what if I offend this person and what? Someone who is honest, someone who is candid, someone who shares your vision for your life, someone who loves you unconditionally. We need that kind of person when we are going through transformation. Everyone, even when we are not going through any process, we need people who, you know, positive people in our corners, just our cheerleaders. And we should also be other people's cheerleaders because we can't always be receiving. It's also good to give as well. True transformation is about restoration, healing, and growth. So we restore whatever we feel has been taken away from our gestalt, the missing pieces, healing those which are broken, and then finding growth, because even plants, for them to grow, the seed has to be buried and it dies and then it breaks apart for the shoot to come up. So we need to grow. That brokenness is our license to growth. I think, yeah, that's it for my presentation for today. That's my contact details and the company Ball Dialogue. We give individual sessions and group therapy and coaching. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much, Barbara. That was so powerful. You can switch off your screen sharing.
Now I'm trying to figure out this thing again. Just give me a moment.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there.
We got it.
Yes.
Although we can still see your screen. Yes.
Is it?
Thank you. It's gone. It's gone.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you. That was so empowering. I just want to put up a quick poll for everyone. Can you see it? Please just take a few seconds to answer the questions about feedback. Just a few more seconds. Can everybody see it on their screen? The polling questionnaire? Barbara, can you see it? No?
Yes, I'm seeing it. I can see it.
Okay. Okay, so I will be ending that now. And while we are waiting to complete this poll, please just send us a message and let us know where you're from. Where are you tuning in from right now? If you're on Facebook Live, let us know where you are. I know quite a few people joined us late. This broadcast will be available on our page permanently, so I'm just ending our poll now. Okay, so I'm going to get to our questions. There was a comment. Diana wants to know, can Barbara recommend reputable African psychologists or therapists who give online sessions besides yourself? Because we know that you give sessions as well, right, Barbara?
Yes, I do. I think, do I have to think now? I think I need to think. Give me a second.
Yes, and I think what you can do, because I will send a follow-up email, you can give me that information and I'll pass it on.
Oh, thank you so much. That would be good.
There's a message here from Dina that says, I'm glad to be part of this discussion. I'm suffering from depression for almost 11 years now, and for the past 3 years, I'm on medication. For now, all I need is to get better and stop taking pills. It is not easy, but I'm ready to do all that I can. The COVID-19 pandemic has really touched my mind, and the lockdown in Namibia has made me realize that I can bake, do gardening, and just be happy while hoping for a better tomorrow. That's wonderful. I just want to get back to the previous questions. I see people are from Windhoek, Angola, wow, and RSA as well. You're all welcome. Let's get back to the questions that we didn't answer before. So Teodensia wanted to know what we think about this statement. It's okay not to be okay at times. What do you ladies think about that?
Can I go first?
Yes, please.
I totally agree. There is no shame in being not okay. Because by virtue of acknowledging that you are not okay, it means you are actually a step further than someone who's in denial, who doesn't know. You have an awareness of yourself. That's why you can say, I'm not okay. And it's easier for you to seek help when you know you're not okay.
Right. Thank you. Miriam, would you like to comment on that?
Your mic is on mute.
Unmute. Yes, Miriam.
I just want to agree with what Barbara has said. I think all emotions, as human beings, we are made to have emotions, and like she said, it's good to acknowledge them. If you acknowledge them, then you will even be able to take a step further when you think that it is getting out of hand, than having it and thinking that this is just how it's supposed to be. So it's okay to be not okay. So it is very okay. So we just need to be to know ourselves, and also to be able to reach out when we need help.
Thank you. Rauna is asking, well, first she says, thank you for an informative presentation. I've learned a lot. I just have one question. Most of the people are looking forward to going back to their normal lives, including workplaces. What about some of us that got comfortable working at home and are not looking forward to resuming duty at the office? What advice can you share with us?
Okay, maybe let me go first on that one. I think it's very normal for one to feel not so keen to go back to work. One of the reasons could be the anxiety, like we discussed earlier. Some or other reasons could be you got comfortable working from home. As I said, for us, some of us, it was difficult at the beginning, but when you got used to it, then it became easier to work from home. But I think a positive mindset will be able to help us to go back, and also the sense of gratitude. I think that is also, for me, I appreciate the fact that we have moved, or we have as a country, we have relaxed some of the lockdown regulations, and that means we are getting, maybe not soon, but we are getting to the end of COVID-19. So I think that is, for me, one way to look at it, being positive and to have a sense of gratitude of what is happening right now.
Thank you, Mirjam. Barbara?
For me, I think if you have let's say you have discovered you actually enjoy working from home, it's all good. I personally work from home, except for the occasional speaking engagements that I'm kind of missing. But you need to, I think the lockdown has exposed us to a new reality, because we've always been of the mind that for me to be productive, to be working, I need to get up in the morning, go out of the home and go elsewhere. But you need that self-discipline that these are my working hours. This is how I work. You structure your work, You actually let your job work around you, not the other way around, that you have to stretch yourself so thin working around work. You can still do it if that's what you have decided to do. It's a good decision, but it works for some people. For some, it doesn't. So if you feel you're in a space where you feel, yeah, this is what it is for me, this is my new reality, I say go ahead.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm just checking out the chats before I get back to the other questions. I see people joining us. Saima is joining us from Swakopmund. And I also see Ame from Botswana. Sylvia Hamata is asking. First, she says, hi there, really good presentations. I'd like to know if you have any information about how the pandemic has affected the frontline workers, especially the ones in the healthcare sector. Mirjam, would you like to start off?
Yeah, personally, I have not really been looking up on information about how this pandemic has affected our healthcare workers, but I believe one of them, I think they are not immune to the issues that we've just discussed now, the mental health issues during this pandemic, and they might even be more affected than the general population. One of them is that they will have anxiety. Some might even suffer from anxiety disorders. Some might get depressed. I mean, the fear of working with COVID-19 cases. I think that can be that can put a toll on the frontliners, and I just believe that, and I hope that they are getting the psychosocial support that they need, the counseling. I believe that is already in place from our Ministry of Health and Social Services. One of the other disorders or issues that our frontliners might be dealing with can be the post-traumatic stress disorders that can come as a result of what they've experienced while taking care of the patient suffering from COVID-19.
Thank you for that. Barbara, do you want to add to that?
I'll just share about maybe two people. One, my aunt, and the other one is a friend of mine. I was talking to my friend. He was saying ever since the lockdown was introduced in season 1, when it started, he's been on call every night because of the pandemic. I mean, how are you supposed to work and deliver top-notch service when you are tired? How can you be on call every night? From the first day up to now, he is on call every night. And then my auntie, she's a nurse, and she's so worried, you know. It breaks my heart. We can only talk to her over the phone. She is isolating herself from the family. And this is the time when you need family the most, you know, because just being on your own, you don't know what's happening. And then you're exposed to people who are sick, you're exposed to all these things. And to make things worse, in Zim, the testing kits for the virus or the treatment facilities are really not there, you know, they are not really in place. So they are just working by the grace of God. They are literally working on divine protection. And imagine every day you fear for yourself. You don't know what is going to become of you. Maybe you are infected. And you know, when you are worried about something, even if they are not there, you start feeling all this, you somatize when you are going through a traumatic experience like this. So it's a good thing. Like in Namibia, at least there haven't been any deaths, you know, everything is being controlled. But here there's still movement. Even airports are working, the borders are open. We are really not being careful, and yeah, we're not putting extra care into this, but we expect these people to work every day and expose themselves. It's such a delicate situation like here.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Barbara. I'm going to take the last two questions before we close. Harry asks, is depression hereditary? I seem to find my close friend having mental breakdowns, and his father and brother also have history of showing signs of depression. Lastly, how can I help as a friend, especially at a time I can't reach them physically and they may not know they have depression?
I can answer, maybe.
Okay.
In some cases, yes, it is hereditary. It's not always hereditary, but some cases, just like any other condition, sometimes it's hereditary, sometimes it's other factors. And then on helping the friend, I think we have spoken about the virtual counseling services. Maybe Harry can recommend his friend to some online therapy or something, because we need to be there for each other. We need to look out for each other. And those who can offer the services should actually be doing so.
Thank you, Barbara. Mirjam, do you want to add anything at all, especially about how he can offer support from a distance?
Yeah, I think what I will not really touch. I think Barbara already covered the hereditary factors that one might be prone to get depression or to become depressed if you are from a family with a history of depression. However, it's not an automatic factor that you will be suffer from depression. With regard to support, I think it's really important that Harry find out. I think constantly support his friend, and also maybe convince him to seek for support, professional support, because it is not easy to convince someone who's depressed to look for professional support. But maybe now that he knows, or he already maybe know the signs and symptoms of depression, he might want to maybe just take him through the symptoms and say, okay, because you suffer from this, and these are the signs that you are showing, or that your behaviors and your actions and your type of thinking, I think you need help. I think you need empathy, it need patience, because one need to really be patient to be with somebody who suffer from depression, because they are in a negative mood most of the time. Sometimes they don't want to listen, or they just switch off because of the condition that they have. And one really need to be supportive and patient with them to support them.
Thank you so much. I'm taking the very last question. The question is, Barbara, can you please share how people in their localities can get help when they recognize they have suicidal ideations in communities where suicide is not taken seriously or is taboo?
I think almost all in most African countries, it's a taboo thing. There's some tribes don't even give you a proper burial if you commit suicide. For example, if you hang yourself on a tree, they'll come and dig a hole just by the tree, then just cut you off from the tree, and you will fall into the wall, and they cover you. So for us, we need to care for each other, because it's through listening and hearing and observing how people are behaving and acting. And also sometimes when we see that we are depressed, we are failing to cope with certain issues in our life. But mostly when others should be able to observe, and it should be our new culture. We need a paradigm shift in how we communicate. When someone says they are not okay, we shouldn't say, man up, or that's not what, let's listen what is going on. Let's show an interest in others. And then when you are failing to cope with your situation, with whatever you're going through, just talk to other people, because you don't just wake up and decide, I'm going to kill myself right now. It's a long process. It's coming over a long time. You are not coping well, things are not going well for you, you are very sad, nobody's supporting you, so many things. So we need to have an acute awareness of these things in ourselves and those around us as well.
Thank you so much for that, Barbara. It's a very important topic, especially in traditional societies. And this is why people literally die with their problems, because there are very few communities that really understand, or places where they can reach out for help. But I'm happy that earlier on, Mirjam, you also mentioned where people can get help in Namibia. If you're not in Namibia, please go online and find out what resources are available in your country. We've come to the end. I just want to share some of our polling information. 44% of you found the session worthwhile. 44% said you loved the speakers and that they're very knowledgeable. And I see one person said, make it shorter. Typically, the masterclasses run for 60 to 90 minutes. But when you're dealing with very sensitive issues like this, it's very difficult to put a very stringent time limit on matters of the heart and soul. So I think that you will bear with us on that. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you so much for joining us. And those of you who joined us on Facebook, those of you who got knocked out of the room due to tech issues, I'm really sorry about that. And tomorrow, the 4th of May, we will have a session at 8 a.m. Central African time. So please check your time. If you'd like to attend, please send us an email on info@securethebagafrica.com, or just scroll through the Facebook feed to find out when the next session is. We'll be talking about financial management and what COVID-19 means for your budget. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Barbara, Mirjam, you are amazing. I believe you have impacted so many lives. I see the chats. People are saying thank you for answering my question. Thank you for sharing. And this is exactly what Secure the Bag Africa is about. How do we make ourselves better so that we become profitable individuals? Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the Sunday.
Thank you, Christine. Bye.
Bye.